Welcome in to AIA Artisan Action's Something Red event. This is their crown jewel annual event, and Something Red 2023 marks their 21st anniversary producing this cherished occasion. They call on all Oregon visual artists working in any style or medium to create compelling art that features the color red as a focal point or primary color in the composition. The resulting exhibition is a perennial favorite of the local art community, and it is held during the month of December at Elsinore Framing and Fine Art Gallery, located at 444 Ferry Street in downtown Salem. Presented here are all 120 of this year's Something Red entries. Artisan Action's website is artisinaction.org, and Elsinore Framing and Fine Art Gallery's website is elsinoregallery.com. This year's judge, longtime Salem artist John Van Driel, was tasked to come up with 6 of the 9 awards for Something Red. His 6 were Honorable Mention, Best Botanical, Best Use of Unconventional Materials, Best Original Concept, Best Use of the Color Red, and finally, Something Red Best of Show. Which leaves 3 more of the 9 awards. One of those 3 is the Teresa Meisner Sponsor Award. Teresa has been a longtime supporter of the arts community in the mid-Willamette Valley. And the second is the Elsinore Framing and Fine Art Gallery Award by General Manager Brent Allen. And finally, the 9th award is, frankly, up to all of you. The People's Choice Award. When you review the display at Elsinore Gallery, you can cast your vote for the artists and their work. The results will be tabulated and announced via AIA's website at the end of the exhibition in December. So here is Artisan Judge John Van Driel presenting each award with his comments and critique, followed by Brent Allen of Elsinore Gallery to present the Elsinore Gallery Award, and followed by the announcement of the Teresa Meisner Sponsor Award.
Well, it's great to be here. My name is John Van Driel, and I'm an artist who lives locally here in Salem. I've had a painting career for 40 years now, and appreciate the community and all the support, and especially this honor of being someone who's choosing awards today. My aesthetic principles that I use when I paint are tied to Dutch realism, American realism, tonalism, luminism, and formalism. That allows me to go almost as abstract as I want and back to detail in my own work. And so when I approach this particular show, Something Red, I bring with me my opinions and philosophies that are tied to my art. But at the same time, I also keep a very open mind to be challenged on those. And what I found with this show was a lot of work that made it very difficult for me to decide these awards. So I'll tell you a little bit about how I got there. The first thing I do is I use yellow stickies to mark all of the pieces that fit within kind of my paradigm of aesthetics and what I think is good work. And that was pretty much all the pieces. And then I start to narrow it down by focusing on the actual award that I'm giving. So I'll talk a little bit more in detail about that when I get to each piece. There were a lot of ties. There were 4, 5, 6 pieces for every one of these categories, and narrowing that down was difficult. I basically was able to get it to 3 pieces, and then I make a decision based on presentation. So while I believe the works were all equal, not all the presentations are equal. So I do default to the one that presents itself most professionally with frames or glass or mats or however that piece is presented in a professional manner. And so in that way, I just want to plug Elsinore Framing here. If you don't know how to frame or mat or present your work, pay Brent to do that. He does a great job. And if you do, that's great. Or you can learn. But in an exhibition, sometimes the judges do get right down to how striking the presentation is, or how provocative it is, or even soothing. And that's kind of where I ended up with a lot of these pieces. This piece was painted by Samuel Hoskins. Its title is Winter Solstice, and it is oil on linen. I chose this piece for honorable mention. It was in the running for pretty much all the other categories as well. I think this artist has a tremendous amount of talent. I particularly like the dance with the red, which is the theme of the show, of course. I even lean into the mushrooms as theme at solstice, being an Oregonian. And a couple of notable pieces, or a couple of notable design elements that really strike me would be the subtle use of green, the complement to the red, and just the overall composition and the narrative of the work. I like the luminous qualities of the solstice sky behind the storyteller or the elixir giver. But I really do like this piece, and it, like as I said, it was in the running for most of the categories, and just got edged out a little bit by some of the other pieces. And but I certainly want to note the quality and the talent of this artist, and the presentation is excellent. This piece it was done by Debbie Robinson. It is titled Return to Life, and it is pastel. And it wins the award of Best Botanical. One of the things that I mentioned earlier is that a lot of pieces were very competitive for these categories, and this was one of many. I think this edges out some of the other pieces, not just because of the presentation, but overall the formal presentation, meaning the use of form just as a design element, not in any kind of narrative way or in any kind of literal way, but more as something that my eye sees, that really spoke to me. And so as I walked around the gallery, narrowing these paintings down, part of what I was thinking is, what do I want to keep returning to? And that's kind of how I get to those final three pieces in each category. And I kept returning to this piece. And one of the old-fashioned tests I do when I look at an art piece, especially one that is representational, is I squint my eyes and I blur my vision. And I look at the form as an abstract painting. How does the form speak to me? I stay away from the narrative or any kind of literal translation. I just look straight at the form and the compositional elements of the work. And this piece really spoke strongly to me. And I really appreciate the subtleties of the work and all of the juxtapositions of color. So this, I don't know if Debbie intends this to be kind of an impressionist piece, but it speaks that way to me because it provides the impression of light and form, and the positioning of colors, especially complementary colors that build a vibrancy within the work, and then the subtle passive areas that then move the foreground to my eye. And so I think on every level this piece is very successful. This next piece was done by Cameron Covey. Its title is Red Patch Shawl. It wins the award of Best Use of Unconvention Material. And now I'll read you what that material is. Wool and silk shawl on scarf nuno felted on silk chiffon with inlaid silk hankies. Materials. I just absolutely love this piece. It's vibrant. The color is gorgeous. It's not overdone in any particular area. There are a lot of subtleties even within the vibrancy next to these kind of subtle areas, and it kind of just makes me want to snuggle up next to it. It's tactile. So this is one of the pieces I continue to come back to over and over again. And I should note that I generally don't lean to fabric art. For some reason, I'm just not drawn in, and this one really got me. So, I would consider it an unconventional or material or use of an unconventional material, and so it qualified. And I love looking at it. I'm drawn in, and I just want to keep looking at it. It's fabulous.
The best original concept went to Autumn Breitweiser for a three-dimensional piece titled Transience of Life and Love.
For Transience of Life, and that is a ceramic piece. Oh, there she is right there. So let me talk about it a bit. Autumn's work is back here on a pedestal, or at least it was. Is it still back? Okay. A just delightful piece. And I've seen Autumn's work before, and I very much appreciate her sensitivity to color and design. She was very careful about the way she placed the red in the piece, not to overwhelm us or stop our eye. So while the spiked heart is a resting area, we still made our way to the bird that sits at the top. But the narrative is there. It's not overwhelming. She's not clubbing us in the head with her message. It's a beautiful piece. It invites you to step in and kind of interact with it. Even kind of, it's tactile. You want to touch this piece. And the glazing and the form, even the strokes of clay look like brush strokes. I think that everything she did was very purposeful. You might say there were some lovely accidents that you were able to capitalize on, but it looks like everything is just perfect and right with this piece. So, Autumn, thank you. This work was done by Britt Block. The title is Poppy. The medium is pastel on sanded paper. And the award is the best use of the color red. This is one of those pieces that was among many that I marked for this category, and I was able to narrow it down to 3. And then in the end, I went with overall presentation. But just know that so many of you really very delicately and sensitively used red in excellent ways. And it was really a very hard award to decide. But I keep coming back to this. Now, this is a surprise to me because I don't lean to bold work very often. And this is bold and beautiful, and but not overwhelming. And I'm still trying to figure out why I'm not. But I think this is why. Because Britt was able to use a slightly different tone of red here. And if she hadn't, I don't think this piece would be successful. Along with this off-center, off-balance, bold area with the subtleties of the petals here that balance the rest of this, because this needs balance, needs a lot of balance. And she pulls it off. Britt pulls that off. And I really appreciate this work. It's delightful, intriguing, and at the same time very simple in its composition, and yet really, really works. Sometimes the subtle simplicity of a composition can really be effective, and this is one of those examples. And then again, just that bold use of red and the subtle changes that allow me to not become fatigued. I guess that's what I was going to say at the beginning, because I could easily be fatigued by something that's that magnificent and kind of almost overwhelming. But Britt stops right before it becomes that, and I think it's a very successful piece. Again, presentation is very nice. All right, this piece was done by Joel Zach. It is titled Century Farm, and the materials are archival ink on prepared watercolor paper. The award is Best of Show. And so I'll start a little bit with how I got to Best of Show. Again, lots of works were in the running, and I was able to narrow, in this particular case, down to 2 pieces. And pretty neck and neck. But at the end of the day, what I would almost have to say is perfect composition of this piece, just flat out won as I continued to return to it, which was over and over again as I wandered the gallery. And again, presentation is absolutely awesome and challenging to me, because it's out there. It's a work on paper that's floating on a mat in a beautiful frame, and that always makes me nervous. Works on paper. And so immediately I was actually a little uncomfortable with that, and then I resolved it and just continued to be drawn to this work. So let me speak to the architectural elements of this design, not because it's an architectural theme, but also because it is, in my opinion, composed in an architectural manner, in the same way an architect would build a house or some sort of building. It feels to me like Joel was very sensitive to line and placement and overall composition. And my eye has naturally, with this piece, created sub-paintings. And his use of subtle lines, when you see this piece in person, you'll see some subtleties, a swing rope, that actually help your eye define these broken up spaces, but all of it continues to flow to focal points. And there's a repetitious quality within this work that is very professional, and that is the repeat of the overall compositional proportions repeated within these subsections, so that in my brain, as I try to make sense of the way the light and the line and the marks, I'm going to actually call them marks, not lines, how my brain wants to make sense of all that. And the repetition of those spaces and those proportions do that for me. They actually present the piece to me, and then I can kind of move around within it. And I do lean to tonalism and luminism, and this captures both. It's not quite dark enough to be a tonalist piece. It's definitely a luminous piece. And the bold use of the light and yellow really work. I can't imagine this piece being nearly as successful without the the bravery of the the yellow house and the light as it hits the house. So the house is not yellow; it's the sun hitting the house, and then just the manner in which that house rests into these shadows, anchoring it into the piece. And then one more thing that happens that is hard to get away with, and that is disappearing trees. That is rarely successful, and it's boldly successful here. It creates a balance for some red that happens over here. Again, a real nice subtle use of red, staying with the theme of the show. And some super beautiful crisp lines, and then some lost lines and contours. It's just an absolutely lovely piece. Best of show.
We chose the Elsinore Gallery Award for this piece. It's COVID Oasis by Mary Lou Povey. We liked the piece because it had an Americana feel to it, kind of reminiscent of Norman Rockwell, some of the Saturday Evening Post kind of things. I like the use of red in the piece, and I like the nostalgia that was in it.
Okay, the next award is the Teresa Meisner Award. Teresa Meisner is an artist, a longtime supporter of Artisan Action, and she's one of our sponsors for Something Red. And she chose the piece Red-Winged Blackbird by the Wood 16 by Becky Hessedal. Yes. What Teresa said.
Okay.
She said, "This one immediately stood out to me. The composition and texture are so interesting, and I love how she used red in the bird. Wonderful piece."
And there you have it, Something Red 2023. Thank you to all the Something Red participants in 2023. Congratulations to the award winners. Special thanks to Elsinore Framing and Gallery in Salem, and to Teresa Meisner for her continued support. And remember, the 9th award is up to all of you, the People's Choice Award. When you review the display at Elsinore Gallery, you can cast your vote for the artist and their work. The results will be tabulated and announced via AIA's website at the end of the exhibition in December. Well, thank you again. See you all next year at Something Red 2024.